Okay, this video is what is real and what is fake. We're going to compare and contrast. So number one, Christian art from the Renaissance, pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, for example, that is real. Modern art is fake. It's a lie. It's an insult. It's a degradation of culture. It's used to, do the laundry, so to speak, with money. It's to degrade the society. All you have to do is imagine a person from the Renaissance visiting one of our art museums and seeing this crap, and what disgust and contempt they would have for us. Number two, when writing, learning how to write and communicate, learning rhetoric is real. Rhetoric is they're called impact boosters, to increase the emotional effect of a speech, to increase the persuasiveness of it. That is a very real thing, and anybody studying writing should study rhetoric. Versus the way writing is taught in school is primarily with grammar. Grammar is fake. It's almost irrelevant. It's a very minor thing. It's a distraction. And the same goes for learning languages. If you want to learn a language, you need to have vocabulary. And a good way to get started is reading bilingual fairy tales. In a perfect world, you'd have somebody to converse with all day, but quite often that's not available. So you read bilingual fairy tales, and you read motivational literature, things like Brian Tracy, he's often in multiple languages, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. And then if you're really for the big time, you can read a novel, something like Da Vinci Code, because that'll have audio CDs for it. So that's real. But anyways, the way they teach languages in schools is fake. They teach with grammar. And you can get an A+ in grammar and still suck at the language. And I've known many people, even who majored in Spanish in college, who can't speak Spanish because they took the grammar approach. It's worthless. It's BS, like most things in public schools. Okay, the next topic is mathematics. For mathematics, there's some math that is useful. It's useful to know how to buy a car and a house, how to finance it, finance and business deals and stock market investing, figuring out credit card debt and avoiding it, how to pay your taxes. That's all real use of mathematics. But this stuff about having to do these velocity problems, trigonometry, calculus, statistics, that's fake. And the reason I say it's fake is you don't really need that. Now, don't get me wrong, you might need that in special situations. But, for example, I'm a triple boarded high-tech doctor. I don't ever use any math I didn't know by third grade. They make the students spend all those years doing mathematics, and in the meantime, they don't learn the things that are useful, like about finance, about starting a business, about avoiding divorce, red flags and choosing a wife so you don't get divorced. Okay, things that would be very useful. All right, they include all this mathematics as part of a pre-med education. It's got nothing to do with medicine. Okay, number 5. I got these all color-coded, so you can just go from color to color, from the real to the fake side. When you're trying to learn history, the most useful thing is to study the biographies of great men. If you want to learn about Rome, study Cicero, and all the details of Rome will come together rather quickly. If you want to study the ancient Greeks, there's so many great geniuses in ancient Greece, it's distracting. But I would say the most important one is Aristotle. If you study Aristotle, you'll learn about Plato and Socrates. Study the playwrights, like Sophocles would be my favorite, but you'll learn about the other ones pretty quick. Okay, so study the great men and things will come together. So you want to learn about, 1800s, study Napoleon, okay? All right, now, as far as how do they teach history in the public schools? They emphasize memorizing dates, but that's close to worthless. It doesn't stick in our mind. There's no emotional connection to a date. Where you read about the histories of great men, you'll have an emotional connection to them, and that'll stay with you. Okay, in English class, if you choose a book to read yourself, you're motivated. You make predictions about it, then you try to see if your predictions come true. That is a valuable way to learn. The romantic realist literature of the 1800s, all those great novels, that's one of the greatest novels ever in the history of the world were written. Each nation had its great novel written in the 1800s. For example, Quo Vadis, the greatest novel ever written, perhaps, came out of Poland. Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol came out of England. Les Miserables, the great French novel of Victor Hugo. Brothers Karamazov with Fyodor Dostoevsky, The Scarlet Letter with Nathaniel Hawthorne out of the USA. That's greatest novels of all time right there is a bunch of the top 10. Okay, on the other hand, the way schools do it is they force children to read a book they're not ready for. Freshmen in high school are not ready for Julius Caesar, Great Expectorations, etc., and it makes them hate reading. So that is bad. Plus, because they're forced to read it, they feel like it's a burden. They're being oppressed and they don't retain much of it, and it discourages them. Also, there's an emphasis in the public schools of these scumbag, lowlife jerk-offs. For example, James Joyce is an alcoholic knucklehead. He's not a great writer, okay? Virginia Woolf was insane, okay? She's constantly, trying to commit suicide until she successfully did. She's a piece of crap. That's a crazy person. That's not somebody who should be held up as a role model, okay? All right, now getting back to school. A very real, useful thing, the most important thing to teach in the grade school and the high school level would be study skills and memorization techniques, but they don't teach these at all. The whole point of the public schools for grade school and high school is to turn people into minimum wage conformist chumps. Okay, so they don't teach them the most useful thing, study skills and memorization techniques. Instead, they give them lists of vocabulary words to memorize. That's all fake. That doesn't stay with a person. It's all disconnected nonsense, all right? Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the brain and people's personalities. Christianity is real. Christianity is as real as it gets. Take a look at all the things that Christians do. It's not a coincidence. Why is it that Christianity inspires so many people to great achievement? Why is it that Christianity has inspired 99+% of all the great art created since the beginning of the world? Why are 19 out of the top 20 novels all written by Christians? Because Christianity inspires good things. Why can you take a people and when you convert them to Christianity, they start producing much better art, Look at the people of India. Look at Dinesh D'Souza, Vishal Mangalwadi. They become Christians and, their genius shines through with masterful creative productions, okay? On the other hand, the Western world dominant fields of psychology and psychiatry are almost entirely fake. Okay, some good research was done in the past in psychology, but these two fields, the psychiatric drugs are poisons that cause chemical lobotomies. Okay, psychology is like nonsense on stilts. They can't even tell the difference between a man and a woman, and that's the person who's going to give relationship advice. They're a joke. If you look at the psychology, for example, the psychology of understanding women, and you read the university psychologists, they're a joke. Okay, what is the one guy? His name is Buss or something. They're a bunch of watered-down, euphemistic, wimpy, kiss-ass, conformist lightweights, okay? Then you go look on the internet, and you see the manosphere, all these men analyzing relationships with women. They're smart. They're good. You will learn a lot real fast, okay? Old-time Hollywood had a lot of nonsense, but it had a lot of good stuff. Lots of magnificent movies came out of Hollywood. Look at Cecil DeMille and The Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston. Charlton Heston was in lots of great movies. Ben-Hur was also a masterpiece of a movie. A Wonderful Life, one of the all-time greatest movies. And they had great comedies back in the old days. The 1980s was the best decade that I can think of. They had all the great comedies like Animal House and Stripes, the great comedians like Sam Kinison, Eddie Murphy. It was an incredible time. Versus modern Hollywood's almost entirely fake. There's almost nothing useful coming out of there these days. In the old days, you had great creative movies like The Agony and the Ecstasy of Michelangelo and Pope Julius. You had Amadeus about Mozart, a masterpiece. Okay, and then what else? Heterosexual marriage is real. It has been around a long time. Nowadays, they have forced us, with a fist in our face, to accept non-heterosexual marriage. Non-heterosexual people can be together, good for them, okay, but if you allow all these marriages to count as the same thing as heterosexual marriage, what's going to happen is they're not going to be able to afford the tax exemptions for everybody, and people are going to just declare a fake marriage so that they can get a tax exemption. It's also going to lead to polygamy, and all of this is going to damage heterosexual marriage, and that's the real reason why this was legalized. It wasn't legalized because they care about these people, not at all. It was legalized because the real goal of this is to destroy heterosexual marriage, to destroy the family, to take children away from their parents, and they put them under the control of the schools and the psychologists. The psychologists are the priests of modernism, and the goal is to destroy the family, to destroy human independence, to destroy human freedom, and to bring back slavery. That's what it's all about. Anybody who studied it knows that, okay? Also, this idea of no-fault divorce that totally favors the woman in the payout at divorce, that's designed to cause divorce. It takes advantage of women's hypergamy and their volatility. And, men are actually much better married partners than are women. Men will sacrifice their happiness for the benefit of the family. They do it all the time. Okay, women will sacrifice their family to have some bizarre affair. Okay, they do it all the time. In medicine of chronic disease, low-fat vegan diet is real. It is the thing that can reverse tons of diseases and prevent tons of diseases. Okay. In medicine, most drugs are fake. When you replace something, like replace thyroid hormone that's absent, then you get a real benefit. You replace insulin when it's absent, you get a real benefit. But most other drugs are just metabolic poisons. You're not going to poison yourself to optimal health. The real education about health is primarily learning nutrition, epidemiology, and toxicology. Those are real things. Whereas pre-med med school education is mostly fake. They don't learn anything about nutrition, epidemiology, or toxicology, and that's what is related to causing almost all the chronic diseases, okay? So that's the most important thing to know, and they don't learn it. They memorize the 10th rare manifestation of a rare disease, okay, which ends up not being that useful. Okay, in the world of nutrition, the low-fat, low-sodium, low-protein, 100% organic, 100% vegan diet with no oils, that is real. Whereas paleo, keto, carnivore, low-carb is completely fake. And the only good thing about it is, you avoid the processed food and, you save money on toilet paper because everybody's constipated. The Mediterranean, that's sort of like the Mediterranean diet. All this stuff about good fats is fake. From fiber you get a little bit of fat, and there's automatically going to be some omega-3, omega-6s, enough essential versions of those guys, ALA and LA, that you don't need to seek them out. Okay, the vegan Mediterranean diet, which I jokingly call the high-fat phony diet, which is actually, I think, being used to replace the McDougall diet, Kempner diet, is partly real. There is some good information there, the low-fat vegan component of it. The component of recommending more fat and more protein is BS. So I would say that's about 60% real, 40% BS, or maybe if you take it a little tighter, lower in fat, you get about 70% real, 30% BS, but we don't need to be seeking out extra fat or extra protein. McDougall would say if you want to get healthy fast, eat 90% of your calories from starch, so you get 90% of your calories from complex carbohydrates, and then get 5% from veggies, 5% from fruits. He even said you haven't tried everything you can do to heal yourself of a medical problem until you've eaten only sweet potatoes for about 4 months. Okay, that and take a vitamin B12 supplement, and that's a way to push it to the max to make yourself healthy. So, anyways, if you want to be healthy in life, you got to figure out who your friends are, who your enemies are. And you also need to know what is real and what is not real. And the only way we can make a decision is based on our knowledge, which means we need to know the truth about things. So anyways, I hope this is helpful.